Kirby Smart is a better recruiter than your coach or any coach. You have questions? We've got cold, hard facts to back up that claim next on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And Daniel, I just wanted to let you know, we got everydayers all around us. If you're an everydayer, congratulations, you're here.
They're here every day.
Listen, it's because they're here every day that you listen to this podcast. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, best sports book there is.
Talk about an everydayer. I'm on that app every day, so there's something. We'll get to that in a minute.
Daniel talked about it. We got recruiting news. Kirby's better than your coach at recruiting. We know that because we have cold, hard facts. He keeps on a clip that I don't understand why people aren't getting it. I think they're getting. See, some people just don't want to get it, Clint. That's the thing. They don't want to be hit with the facts. No.
Because you hit them with the information, and then all of a sudden the arguments turn to nonsense. You start talking nonsensically, and all of a sudden they're like, well, give us some information. But they don't want the information, because the information just confirms the Georgia fan in us, which is that Georgia doesn't always win everything. Georgia didn't win the national championship last year, just like Alabama every year for, the last 5 years. Really 7 if you don't count the Mickey Mouse titles.
Hey.
So Georgia doesn't always win, but there are some things that are objectively true, and that is Kirby Smart's going to continue to get elite talent, all the elite talent in the state of Georgia and outside the state of Georgia, to come to Athens and play for the Dogs. We've talked about it. It feels like every week we're on here talking about a new recruit, because guess what, Clint? Every week we're on here talking about a new recruit, except this week we're not talking about a new recruit. We're talking about two. We're talking about two recruits, both of which are safeties, both of which are coming to Athens. One of them commits on Sunday night. Yesterday, if you are listening or watching this on Monday, one of them commits last week on, I believe, the 7th or the 8th of July. But a couple of 4-star safeties, both rated very highly, one from the state of Tennessee, one from the state of Florida. And it's interesting that we've got multiple. These are not the only two safeties in this class, by the way. This is a heavy defensive back loaded class, and we'll talk about maybe some ramifications of that in the third segment. But which of these young men do you want to start with, Clint? I'll give you the dealer's choice. Do you want to start with Jalen Morgan, or do you want to start with Rashad Johnson?
I want to start with Jalen Morgan, who committed to us first on this. Rockville, Tennessee, 6 foot 180, class of 2025, rated as, like we said, that 4-star recruit. He had offers from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Florida, Alabama, and of course Georgia. Kid comes in, commits
offers from Tennessee as well. A lot of Tennessee hype around this kid. There's some people thought he was going to end up in Knoxville.
How did that work out, Daniel? This kid is fluid. If you look at him in coverage,
I'm looking at him in coverage right now as you're talking, Clint.
How fluid them hips and feet and tracking ability to the ball, Daniel.
Sure.
Yeah. This kid has a very good feel, very good read of the game. He also likes to don't hear 6 foot 180 and think, oh, so he's more of a cover guy. He's going to backpedal quite a bit. No, because this dude loves to pop, loves to come up in the run game, fits in the box, a la Richard the Count. If you're thinking back to a small frame safety that likes to pop, Richard loved to pop, coming up into that, fill in the hole in the alleyway.
Yep.
This cat's close to the line, also has great technique, Daniel. What do you make of his game so far?
Well, he's a track athlete, Clint. We like that. We talk about that a lot.
Speed kills.
And they're in Rockville, not exactly the largest, not exactly the biggest stage of college football that there is in Rockville, Tennessee.
Mhm.
But a great high school career that he's building on now going into his senior season. And as you would imagine for an elite kid coming to Georgia, this is not a shock, but plays a pretty mean wide receiver there as well. Plays both sides of the football, plays a pretty mean wide receiver. A lot of athletic catches, great hands on this guy, really high points the football. And that ball hawking type middle of the safety that knows how to anticipate throws, knows how to anticipate route combinations and breaks, and has a nose for the football, can go up, great set of hands, can high point the football. And he's a track star, which means you got a guy, he's got to get to a sideline real quick. All of a sudden, he's in the deep middle, and he's needed way over there on the left sideline. He's able to close some ground in a hurry. You mentioned physicality. He's got that. He's got toughness. He can go up, get the football when he needs to. I don't like – it's funny. Everybody who gets on and talks about recruits says, I don't like to make comparisons. And then what do, Clint?
They make the comparison, Dan.
They make a comparison. So,
okay, well, you've done the disclaimer.
Well, I don't like to make comparisons.
Great.
But he doesn't not remind me of Richard LeCount. I'll just say that. He doesn't not remind me of Richard LeCount. And so I'm not saying that this kid is a Richard LeCount type football player, but you could forgive me for seeing some similarities in the game.
That's right. Their games do have a lot with that. The DB room at Georgia is absolutely stacked. He, of course, slots right into that. Think quick-footed, well-read safety who does a lot of things very, very good. And the most important thing, the most important aspect, ball hucking ability. He has a feel for where the ball is going to be. It has a good break on it. Anticipation is very high on this kid. You see him a lot sitting and reading the game quite a lot. He's got good eyes so far at the high school level, which is, again, no shock. Kirby Smart wants him. You have good eyes. You have good discipline. It's going to come with the territory of being pursued by Kirby.
An interesting thing to me about this young man, just as a note to close on, Jalen Morgan, again, safety out of Rockville, Tennessee. Early in his recruiting cycle, people liked him for Alabama, Clint. People liked him for Alabama because he's being recruited by Travaris Robinson. Have you ever heard of him? T-Rob is what the kids are calling him.
Oh, I know him.
You know him.
It sounds like
Travaris Robinson recruited him.
Oh, yeah.
Liked what he saw in him. Jalen Morgan liked what he saw in the staff there at Alabama. And somehow or another, Clint, he ended up at Georgia. Can you think of how that might have happened?
Well, it was probably because he wasn't the first choice of Alabama. They didn't
That's always what it is. They never offer anyone that doesn't.
I didn't offer him, really. No. It was more like T-Rob probably looked at him after he left Alabama, didn't have a second choice. T-Rob was picking up scraps at that point and said, maybe
his hands were tied. He didn't have anything else to do. No.
How y'all doing?
It's not going great. If I could be totally honest about Alabama.
They love how they're recruiting right now, by the way.
They love how they're recruiting.
I know they do.
They absolutely love it. All right. Hey, we love how Georgia's recruiting right now because we're not done talking about elite safety prospects that have recently committed to the University of Georgia because, oh, wait, there's another one we need to mention, and we will talk about him right after these.
These are, in fact, eBay Motors. eBay Motors is fantastic. Daniel and I, we tend to appreciate cars that have longevity. Him and I aren't really out there trying. We're just, Matt Luke is trying his best to tell us something, okay? And that is get the most miles you can out of your vehicle. Daniel and I
stretch that baby out.
We stretch that baby. 03 Lexus ain't got no problem over at 290. She's still humming along.
She's still humming.
She's still humming. We get all of our stuff at eBay Motors. Your number one ride or die. Keep it going, whether that is exhaust, whether that is performance parts, interior, exterior, whatever you need. eBay Motors has it. Millions of parts for your MVP ride or die. Every single day, you can go get the part that you need for your car with the guaranteed fit at eBay, only available to U.S. customers. Go right now. If it doesn't fit, it will tell you. If it doesn't fit and you buy it, they will guarantee to go ahead and replace that, get your money back, get you the right part, the right fit every single time. ebaymotors.com.
I keep waiting for you to say if it doesn't fit, you must have quit, but you never do. But one of these times,
before OJ had isotonas,
one of these times, you're going. Who told you to put the ball in mom? I didn't tell you to put the ball.
I didn't tell you to put the ball in mom.
Rashad Johnson is from Bushnell, Florida.
Yes. Wait.
Yep.
Florida? You say? Florida? You say?
Yeah, he's down there, and he's down there in Florida. So he didn't have a lot of options. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm gonna be upfront with you. He needs to look somewhere. All right, he's down there in Florida. There's a reason this kid's looking at Texas A&M. He's looking at Penn State. He's looking at Louisville. He's like he got to go somewhere. But like, where are you going to go down there?
Where are you going to go?
I can't think of a single place. Well, he just so happened to find his way up to Athenstown as well. Rashad Johnson from Bushnell, Florida, as we said, another 4-star safety prospect. A little more size here. Okay.
Can we? Okay. Yeah. Can we for a moment?
We're talking about 6'2", 200. Okay. 24th rated safety prospect in the nation. As I mentioned, Georgia gets him over schools like Texas A&M, schools like Penn State. And I mentioned, I'm glad we started with Jalen Morgan, because we mentioned he can high point the football. We mentioned he played a lot of receiver. We mentioned he's got ball skills. Okay. That's all fine.
I love those are great skills.
Those are wonderful things about Jalen. Rashad Johnson, on the other hand.
Wait, now hold on. You're saying some things are different?
He's a guy that's going to come in, take your lunch money, and then hit you right in the mouth and not even flinch while he's doing it. This guy is an enforcer. He brings the wood every single time he comes into a tackle. This guy plays, dare I say, Clint, an old school brand of football. And it is such a breath of fresh air when you see it in this day and age. Now, we're not advocates of dropping the helmet.
Please stop.
Dirty hits. Nobody's talking about that kind of football. That's not the old school that we're looking for.
It's not the old school.
But when you bring your shoulders, you bring your hips, you bring the whole 6'2", 200 into every collision. That's exactly what Rashad Johnson does. That's a guy at safety that makes me go, oh, yeah, now I remember why my favorite football players of all time are safeties. Now I remember the feelings that I have when I watch a guy like Sean Jones play football, when I watch a guy like Thomas Davis at Georgia playing safety back there, playing football. When I watch a guy like Greg Blue playing football, like these are the guys that I think about. And Rashad Johnson, he slots right into that. He did play a little wide receiver in high school, but Clint, what if I was to tell you that he also played a little tight end? Yeah. Like we got a guy that played some wide receiver, elite ball skills. We also got a guy that just lined up there on the end of the line of scrimmage just so he could hit somebody else. You understand? Defense wasn't enough.
No. See, there are some players that enjoy football because they like getting the ball in their hands, and they like making people miss, and they like the tight key. It's fun for them. It's like basketball on grass. Okay. And that's great. We enjoy that as well. All right. Scovie White, there's a couple of players we got in Georgia that can do that. And then there's other people that enjoy football because otherwise they might be making stupid decisions not on the field. They just enjoy saying, I'm bigger and more I can do what I want here. Okay. Yep. And I'm going to impose myself, and you're going to bend to it. This is what you look for right away coming in to Georgia. This cat does not need to have a mentality shift. It's not all of a sudden he's like, hey, I know that's a great point. Elevate it. This kid knows right away, oh, I'm going to have to wrap up and hit, and no one's going to give me anything, and I'm going to have to bring it one-on-one, best on best. Let's go for it.
Yep.
That's the mentality this kid has, and you see it in his gameplay. You can tell that he's been well coached. What like he wants to bang, and he is not a cheap shot player, and he wants to do it in the most physical way possible. He looks all of 200. 200 seems light to me for what this kid looks like on film.
Well, it's just the physicality. I mean, he's put together. He's built like a sack of bricks, and that's how he collides with people like a sack of bricks.
This has star written.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Daniel.
These two guys, you say to yourself, and we're going to get to in the third segment of the defensive back recruiting class, you say to these guys, well, you got another 4-star elite safety. What are you going to do with all these guys? These guys on the field at the same time, Clint. One of these guys belongs in the deep middle, and one of these guys belongs at the line of scrimmage, just saying, I dare you to run a shallow cross. Run a shallow cross. Do it again. I dare you to leak that back out into the flat. I wish you would do it. Because Georgia's going to have Georgia's always going to have opponents, because they're going to be elite on the defensive lines. They're going to be elite on the edges. They're going to be elite at the linebacker positions. They're going to be elite on the back end. And so they're always going to have opponents that are going to try to manufacture cheap yards by dinking and dunking and getting cutesy on the outside. So you got to have physical DBs who love being up near the line of scrimmage, who can make a tackle. And this is your guy.
Space. This guy bangs, but if you look in space, you have to do that. We're going to come back. And by the way, Georgia, for the upteenth time, I don't know how many more times I got to say
Tell them again, though.
Georgia does not run a 3-4 defense.
No, well, what if but that's what I was told before because there were 4 linebackers on
At best, if you want to mistake your way, you can call it a 4-2-5 at best. If you want to err somewhere, you can call it that. Kirby's defense calls for inside linebackers, 2 of them, calls for this star position, which is a crucial element to the entirety of what Georgia wants to do. In the back end, the front end, pressuring coverage, manning up island, and saying we have to tackle in space with violent aggression.
That's right.
If you can't do that, you aren't going to survive at Georgia. Okay?
Gotta have it.
That's what this kid is. Not only does he bang in a telephone booth that says, hey, I'm going to come down this alley, but also I'm going to come with controlled aggression and tackle well. I can't be more excited for these two cats being on the field at the same time. We're going to come back after this and let you know why Kirby is still king. Yeah. But first, these.
All right, Clint.
Everydayers are here with us. Thanks for making your first listen, your second listen, your third listen. Thanks for being here the entire time.
You know who you are. You know what you are.
T-shirt. You know what you are. You don't got to tell you.
We know, and you know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this recruiting class specifically, because now we've talked about Rashad Johnson. Yep. We talked about Jalen Morgan.
Sure.
Well, there's also Todd Robinson, the 4-star safety from down in Valdosta, and Shamari Earls. We talked about him last week. The 4-star corner from up in Virginia, and there's more defensive backs to come, Clint. So we got this class 2025 again, still young in its development. Georgia's sitting on 3 safeties right now.
Yep.
In the class, and a corner. What do you make of the what seems, I don't know how else you could interpret it, seems to be an emphasis on the safety position? What do you make of that in the 2025 class? Taking into account, obviously, Georgia got some guys on campus right now. Georgia's obviously going to be losing some guys to the NFL draft, sooner rather than later in the case of guys like Malachi Starks. And so what do you make of the emphasis in 2025 on replenishing the depth at safety? Clearly seems to be something that Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart have their eye on.
Yeah, this is, you have a lot of positions, a lot of depth did leave. We have a bunch of young cats. We talked about this from the get-go. All right. Even this year, Ellis Robinson, KJ Bolden probably seeing the field a little bit. Dan Jackson being right now a called upon veteran. We are going to need Dan Jackson to play a lot of meaningful snaps this summer, fall. And if you don't like that,
Beginning
get used
August
to it.
31st in Atlanta, Georgia against Clemson.
Correct. Like,
Probably opening snap.
that's him. So
That's the guy. Seems important.
we're needing to stockpile the Tyke Smiths, the Christopher Smiths, the Malachi Starks going. Malachi Starks can carry this young group right now. But
Gonna
come
need
next
to.
year, he's going to have to. Next year, we are set to host a whole new, brand new secondary. Malachi Starks going in the top 15 of the draft. And all of a sudden, we look and go,
I mean, there's going to be some carryover from this year. We just
course
don't know what these young players this year are
Who-
going to give us. We got a 5-star
proven.
safety from 2 years ago that seems to slot in at star. What is he going to give us? We got a 5-star safety from last year who could play a lot of safety alongside Malachi Starks. What is he going to give us? We don't know what these guys are going to continue to be. And I think, Clint, an important thing to remember that we've already made a note of on this show, when you think about safety and you're thinking about NCAA football 25, setting up your roster, which you are, that's what you're thinking about right now. If you are, my son's got just a countdown clock going right now. Like he's looking at the seconds that need to elapse until this game is in his life. When you're thinking about safeties, again, the traditional way that you might think about them is that 2 play at a time. But at Georgia, 3 always play on virtually every snap of the football game. And so I'm not sure if your maths are as strong as my maths, Clint.
I tend to like the maths.
That's a 50% increase in the number of safeties you need on the field. And by virtue of that, on your roster to provide you with adequate depth, meaning 3 safeties in a class is not all that much, given the fact that 3 safeties play on the field at Georgia all the time, meaning that you need many more than that, at least 5, 6 really quality options in order to feel great about yourself going into a season. Georgia doesn't have that many proven quality options going into this season.
Nope.
They don't at all. They've got Malachi Starks. They've got Dan Jackson. They've got the transfer Jake Pope from Alabama, who's played a little football. Like, they don't have a ton of really proven quality. David Daniel, has played some snaps. There's not a ton of really... Kirby wants more than that. Glenn Schumann wants more than that going into a season to feel good. The only way to get that is you got to get them on campus. Check. You got to develop them once they get on campus.
Double check.
And then you got to see them out there on the field making a difference. I love this class because you got 3 safeties.
Yeah.
And they all play a different brand of football. They all bring something different to the table, and they're all going to have the opportunity to contribute.
Yes, the Smiths last year, Malachi Starks, they play a very, very different Malachi Starks.
I thought you meant John and M-Dubs. I didn't know which Smiths are we talking about. The Smiths last year were out there at the game.
They were doing, the 3 Smiths were crushing life.
The Smith men play a unique brand of football. Let's just say that.
Malachi Starks is a ball hawk. Tyke Smith could cover a flippin' alley, Daniel. Okay? He could come up and run support like nobody else. Smaller framed safety, star.
Wanted it. You just wanted it.
That mentality. So you're right. If you look at what Georgia's doing and Kirby Smart, don't look at safety. Stop doing this, Georgia fan. And stop doing this college football. Stop seeing safety. It's like when you say pro style versus dual threat quarterback.
You wouldn't want to say that.
You
wouldn't want to say that.
You can't have one or the other.
You sound dumb. That's what we're trying to tell you.
when you say safety, stop saying free and strong safety in Kirby Smart's defense. Okay. They play. Now, we're going to ask them to come in the box and go back into coverage. KJ Bolden is not going to get just Cam Chancellor from Seattle Seahawks type love. He can't do that the whole time. He's going to have to go back in coverage because he's a safety. That Kirby Smart likes disguising coverages, getting back into quarters, playing for. You have to do that. And the more the merrier. And we're going to continue seeing this, just like defensive linemen. We're going to see more defensive linemen come out because you're going to put them on edges. You're going to put them in the middle. You're going to put them all over the place. And I am here for it. It's fantastic. Kirby Smart continues to impress. We got more recruiting news yet to come. Georgia is not done with this recruiting class. Some other teams are approaching their limit. But if you look at what Georgia is doing, we got 20 commits. We are still a far cry off.
We got spots for days.
We
may just flip another semi-pro basketball player before all set. Who knows what we'll do?
We got a couple 5-stars and guys in the mix to be rumored to be coming to Georgia as well. We'll give you all the news as it comes to us. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. We will see you guys later.
See ya.